All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and when I say that, I mean just members of Jake's family. Welcome back to an abbreviated edition of Rooster and the Villain. I'm Jimmy Carn, the villain, joined once again by our resident seagull, Jake Kennecke. How you doing, buddy?
Not so good. Modric just scored for Real Madrid.
Oh, we are we are recording on a Friday afternoon. The Valencia Real Madrid game was live, and when we started recording, it was like what the 85th minute,
hmm
and followed
Oh, he's
immediately by a Modric goal.
he's clear on side. The ageless wonder, and he's the
Um,
only one on that team I don't hate.
he's older than I am, which
Yeah,
is old.
and he
That's I mean, it's crazy.
he plays a position where you just have to have an engine too. Like he just moves around so much for that team, and oh well. All right, focus.
Well, you know
Um,
what 1-1 would still be good for Valencia and Real Madrid. We are all soccer all the time on Rooster and the Villain, so um, we're here to bring an abbreviated version of the show today. We're gonna run through a couple of both Villa and Brighton stuff, considering they just played last week. We're gonna touch on some of the games upcoming for our two clubs, and then we're going to have a possible news segment where instead of our normal rants, we're talking about having a therapy couch. Jake has come to us or come to me in this case today with a soccer issue, and we're gonna hear him out and see if we can't, talk him off the off the cliff here, so to speak. So, Jake, other than Valencia giving up a goal there, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Had a sort of a long, stressful for other reasons, holiday season. But it was good to spend time with my wife's family. Get to see all my buddies on that side of the family. And then my indoor league picks up again next week, so I have to start doing cardio again.
Yeah, luckily the league I play in, a lot of guys are gone during the holiday season. But like we do, I'm gonna slaughter the Spanish pronunciation, but we do pilates or however you pronounce them. Just pick up games. Um, for a couple weeks, and I actually did both of those. And actually last week, I wish that facility had cameras because I scored an absolute stunner inside of the left foot, upper 90. Uh, God, it was nice. I love indoor soccer, so I'm glad you're getting back into it. It's my favorite version of the sport, I think.
Yeah, I was bummed out because I could have sworn I remember my brother-in-law telling me that Sundays we're going to pick back up like towards the end of this month, but apparently it's middle of February is when it picks back up. And I was getting kind of pissy, like, fuck, like I want to get back into it. But he brought up a good point. He's like, dude, we've just been stuffing our faces for 2 weeks of this holiday season. And now you want to start indoor and Sunday at the same time. And I was like, okay, yeah, good point.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. Like at this age, if I take a week off, like even if I'm not abusing myself like I do during the holiday season, uh, I'm always like dragging for a little while again. It's hard staying in shape at my age. You wait till you get to my age. You tell me how you feel.
I
Um,
mean, 30s don't seem like it should be that feel that way. And then you're in your 30s and you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
it's true. Yeah, you all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, I know what joint pain is now for real. Um, So the holiday season was good. I'm glad to hear that. For you and I, in a soccering sense, we got to close out 2024 and what I would argue was great fashion. And of course, I'm talking about the last meeting between Villa and Brighton. Finishing a 2-2 tie. Now I'd love to. Normally we run through our own things, but I think this is one we can do together, obviously, because we watched that game and to your point, honestly, like a live stream would have been fun, especially in that game, just considering the pace, the action that went on in that game. It was an incredible watch. I know you enjoyed it, but we'll get into the details. But like on the surface level, fair result for both teams.
I think so. Brighton maybe a little lucky in the end. But I think it was pretty evenly matched. I've had multiple friends tell me like that was the game of the weekend. I mean, Mike tuned in towards the end of the second half, and his first message to us was, "Holy shit, has it been this way the whole time?"
Yeah.
Because literally, as he turned in, it was Villa shot, Brighton counterattack, Villa counterattack, and another shot, and it was crazy game, back and forth, really fun. I mean, from a casuals or a non-committed fan, it probably was the game of the week. I actually titled this episode "Jake and Jimmy Are Still Friends." Um, there was nothing really in that game that that upset me to the point of where I was, fucking Villa kind of thing. It was a fun game all around. I probably saw a little bit more of Rodgers than I would have liked to, but
Mm.
getting to see that guy in all his glory is something special. He is a fun player to watch.
It's incredible to think that Villa just signed him for £8 million this time last year.
Yeah.
Normally January uh, is a terrible place, but and he couldn't get into Middlesbrough's squad. Wow, that's a tough one. Try saying Middlesbrough's. That's anyway. He couldn't get into their squad really with Michael Carrick and honestly, I don't think he was going to play a whole lot the second half of last year, but with all the injuries and stuff we had, we just kind of like threw him in and he was rough but like talented. But you saw him kind of come on last year and then this year just from the off season, like it's because he actually had a full off season, which a lot of guys didn't with international competitions and stuff. But he's really taken that next step, and honestly, I couldn't be happier with him. Now I'm gonna miss him tomorrow because the fifth yellow card he got against Brighton, but just an outstanding season. He's very close to getting a what I'll call a legitimate England call up. Like he got called up the last window just because they had 12 guys or whatever back out, but he's super talented. He's right there, and he offers something that we didn't have in the squad, just that physicality, the ability to take a ball and turn and drive at people. He's a really special player, and I'm hoping that he keeps going up, and um, he'll be important for us the rest of the season and going forward. But yeah, like honestly, the end-to-end action was incredible. The first goal you guys scored was really pretty. I mean, I have no complaints. It was, um, other than other than the way maybe Kanza and Torres talked on that one. But that's the second time we've given up a long direct goal like that. And Adingra is super, he's super fast, so very dangerous, obviously. And the ability to find that ball, kind of pop out, and then basically one touch and just bury it in the corner.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for us, but it was a good goal. I'm not gonna be too pissy about it. Um, the goal for Villa to get the tie, right? Was kind of a back-to-back VAR fuckery, if you will. Um, there was the VAR check on the initial one, the initial tackle on Rodgers that led to the corner, which I didn't think was a foul. I'm glad they went to corner there. And then we get the ensuing corner kick, and what was it? Pedro went to clear it, and just before he
Mhm.
cleared it, Rodgers gets like I don't know the tiniest little touch on it right before Pedro catches him in the boot. By the letter of the law, I guess it's a foul, but I think I said it on the chat. I was like, that's super soft. I'd rather like instead of like having to go back and look at it a million times and spend like 5 minutes doing it, like go with the call on the field because it was like one that there's no way the ref was going to see that. Like in the pace and speed of the action, he's not going to catch that foul. Um, I mean, what did you think? I think you indicated you thought it was a foul, but
Um,
frame by frame is hard to versus the actual game speed.
Yeah, the first one was very floppy.
Hmm.
I'm glad they made the decision on that. The thing is once it went to VAR, the contact on the bottom of the foot, that's what I was having an argument with someone on Blue Sky now where I'm at. Um
Hmm.
Not an argument, more of a discussion with another Brighton fan, a British guy. Um any anytime they see bottom of the foot, it's always going to be called. Like if you're coming up onto someone,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously bottom of the foot, if you're coming down on someone, you're going to get called. But uh, oh my God, Madrid just scored again. Down a
Oh
man.
no.
Oh,
Oh no.
Bellingham. Maybe it'll
Oh,
be offsides. Dork
cross your
ass Madrid
fingers.
fans. So yeah, any sort of contact, boom, underneath, it's gonna get called. I think it was incidental. Like João Pedro, you can kind of see him pull away towards the end, and he still makes
Hmm.
contact. Um, I'm fine with it. That's
That's
gonna get called, and maybe karma will come back, and we'll get one of those calls later in the season.
I guess my issue with it was not so much in that it was or wasn't a foul. It's just that like it wasn't caught in the speed of the game, and that one for me is so close that they probably wouldn't have like VAR wouldn't have looked at it if to Roger's point, make a meal of it, right? Like I'm sure it hurt, but it probably didn't hurt as bad as him laying there through the rest of the action. And for them to stop the game and kill the flow to check that, like that was where I took umbrage. Like
Yeah,
stay out. Like unless it's like it's supposed to be clear and obvious. Not
yeah,
every single moment of every single play should be checked. If that's the case, we don't need a referee on the field. We just have a fucking camera guy checking shit. So um, I that was my umbrage. But at the end of the day, like that first half, electric, end-to-end action. Both those teams really compressed the field with a high line. I would argue that Brighton presses a lot more. Like Villa's game is about making the field like a third of the field big, right? Like the defense is a high line, and we'll have like a high offensive line, but not always like a high press.
mhm,
We'll press more strategically than some other clubs do. But what it created though is both those clubs are so good with the ball at their feet in the passing that we had like boom boom counterattack, boom boom counter, like because everyone's pressing and then all of a sudden those gaps open up. So the first half was incredible. The second half it slowed down a little bit. It was still a lot of fun. Obviously getting the goal right after halftime was uh, um, great for us. It
mhm,
put us in a good spot rest of that second half. But Brighton, to their credit, kept coming, and then ultimately Lamptey of all guys, I wouldn't have pegged Lamptey as the goal scorer, but getting that goal in the 81st minute, it was well deserved, and kind of see out the end of that game there. Talk about like we're talking about like all action. We're talking about between the two, 33 total shots, eight of those on target, 15 combined corners. Like it was a lot of action going on in that game, and it was my team, but as just a soccer fan, that was just enjoyable to watch, and I think that everyone would be happy with the point there. Um, oh, I mean, Villa might argue just it's hard because we gave up a goal in the last 9 minutes at home, but it
yeah,
was an earned draw, I think.
yeah. In regards to the pressing, like yeah, it wasn't heavy against us, but I was telling Mike in like the little mini episode we did that I'll probably release before this one. Um, it felt like one of the more effective presses that we played against. Like Arsenal buried us when we played them. We
Mhm.
still made it out of that draw, but when they were at full strength, it felt like an avalanche coming down on us. And with you guys, it wasn't like how like the idea of like torturing someone by just dripping water on their head.
Mhm.
That's what it felt like. The press felt like is it just we I felt less effective coming out of the back than I felt about Brighton all season. It was a weird thing. Like you guys are super fast and you guys are smart. I mean, it helps having Unai Emery as your manager, but the press felt very, very effective against us in certain parts. And then y'all's second goal, I literally told Mike, I was like, you know what? I was like, this is a place where I'm happy with a draw. Oh my God. Oh, never mind. That was almost one of the most beautiful.
Valencia.
That was almost one of the best shots I've ever seen. But yeah, I literally told Mike, I was like, you know what? I know I've been bitching about draws all season, but this is where I'd be fine with drawing. I don't care if we don't score again as long as we hold them, and I think we can. And then boom, you guys scored. And then Tyreek Lamptey has been making the most out of every opportunity that he's gotten for the club so far this season, especially in a contract year. I don't know what this January. Man, fuck you, Real Madrid. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what January is going to hold for him. And then someone like Veltman. Kind of holding that spot, like feeling really, really good when Veltman's on the field. Lamptey just offers something different, and I don't know if a position change might be something that's in the future for him. I would honestly love to see what he could do as like a midfielder, not a defensive midfielder because he is very, very small and he's going to get bodied in certain aspects, but like. Let him be creative and fast, which he is. Let him do that somewhere else on the field where he doesn't have to play defense.
I could see that, and I would tend to agree. It's going to be interesting, right? Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's coming back to Brighton, right? His contract expires at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's just the injuries. Like he had so much promise. We got him out of Chelsea's academy, I believe. I think it was Chelsea's academy. We got him out of their academy. And it's just been every single year, is this the year? Is this the year? Is this the year? And then he hurts himself. And maybe moving out of a defensive role might be something that helps him injury-wise, in my opinion. Because I mean, you can see him.
For sure.
His like superstar people have been trying to defend his defensive capabilities by like showing like him coming out of nowhere to make a tackle or whatever, but that's just pure athleticism. Like as far as like pure defensive technique and talent and just God-given body size, like he just doesn't have it. And you can make the argument, he could play wing back, we could play three center backs, which I've been asking for anyways, but I still just don't see him. If he's going to play wide, put him all the way up. But I think he would be a really, really good, very fast. He has technical ability. He's proven he can score. Make him a number 8 and see what happens.
It's interesting, right? I mean, I think that's definitely something. The tactical flexibility of the players that you've built, but like Brighton has built on that squad, like is really special. I think there's lots of guys that can play multiple roles. It makes a nightmare for picking your best 11 on a week-to-week basis. And I know I've peppered you a couple of times over the last couple of weeks about like lineups and that sort of thing. And but I think to your point, and at least I remember you agreeing with me that you would like to see them start to run out a more consistent 11, when healthy, obviously, just to get some of that continuity going. But getting moving Lamptey in and out, like it might be hard to do some of that experimenting, especially when you guys have so many talented wingers already. It's hard to get into that lineup. So
yeah. And then just to harp on something that I harped on a lot in that little mini episode, in Brighton's history, there's been certain players that have come from, obviously either outside of Europe or outside of like the like Western Europe, and they've brought like the entire country with them into the comment section. Like Percy Tau, I don't know if you remember him from South Africa.
Yeah,
he brought all of South Africa, and when he got sold to Al Alahi, or however you pronounce it, in Egypt, we were getting cursed in the comments, I curse Brighton to relegation and shit like that. A new Ferdy Kadioglu has brought Turkey with them. There's always Turkish people in the comments now. Why is Ferdy not playing? Why is Ferdy not playing? And it's like, you guys know he's injured. You guys should know that. But Julio Enciso has brought all of Paraguay with him into Brighton fandom. And I just want to let everyone from Paraguay know, your boy's not ready for the Premier League. He's just not. And as I told Mike, they need to loan him in January. He's actively hurting the team. You watch certain replays of him shooting in the first half and then all of last game against Brentford where he had a just absolutely like a howler of a match against Brentford. But you watch his teammates and he'll launch one of these shots, and I think it might be João Pedro or it might be a Dingra, but you can literally watch them just go, oh, like, why are you shooting it? So they need to send him, I think, to either Portugal or Spain, like a lower table Spain club, somewhere where there's a manager who's been there for a little while that will put belt to ass when he takes these asinine shots. That Puskas award, or not, he didn't win it, but the nomination for that goal against Manchester City, just, I don't know if it went to his head or what, but that guy he has to stop it. He has to stop. And I would say, pass the ball, but he's proven he can't do that either. He had some of the worst passes I've ever seen in the past 2 games. And the match against Brentford, because there was a lot of shit, like he had made it publicly known on social media that he was upset with his role in the team. He had called out the team or whatever. And I don't know if the game against Brentford was Hertzler like holding his head underwater, seeing like, you see what you made me do, you see what you made me do kind of thing. He left him in for insanely too long. And then at least he got him out at like 58 minutes in this one, but it's more of the same. It's just, there's something there, but he's not going to figure it out in the Premier League. Like, he's not a Premier League player.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I see like the flashes of talent, but the consistency is a huge part of being able to compete in this league. And if you can't be consistent and do it, week in, week out, like, especially in a team that is so integrated into like intricate passing and that sort of thing, and you're just, a wild card. Unless your name is John Duran, you can't really do that. So, no, I mean, like it was interesting. And I think I had asked you about this, but like, what did Jorginho Ruder do to Fabian to start Enciso 2 games in a row over him? I can understand Matoma getting like a blow, right? And I know Minte is still really coming back from like an injury, so he's probably on a pitch count. But the Ruder one is interesting to me, especially considering Enciso was directly in his spot. So, yeah, I hope for your sake that he can get loaned out too. I guess if I was going to ask, based on what you've seen this season from Enciso versus Buenanote, who should have stayed and who should have gone, because they both basically play the same spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, Buenanote could play on the right side. And I think that was where De Zerbi saw him. So I think he got kind of pigeonholed into that spot. He can absolutely be a center attacking mid.
I think he's been playing like, I guess under Steve Cooper more, less so underneath Van Nistelrooy. He was playing almost exclusively right underneath Jamie Vardy in that central attacking role. So,
and I got told by a bunch of Brighton fans that I was friends with that, Buenanote would have been held down on this roster. It's better that he went on loan. And I mean, if that's the case, I'm fine with him going on loan. Either we keep him or people see his value and we get a big paycheck for him. But Enciso should have went too. I don't understand. Like, I didn't even see it last year. Like, people, like, he took the 10 shirt and that was like a big thing. I always thought Matoma should have got it. And I don't know if Matoma's tied to 22, but there's so many attacking players that I would start over Enciso. Again, we've talked about the the whole Evan Ferguson saga. I don't understand. If you're not going to play Reuter at the 10, play João Pedro at the 10 and put Ferguson at the 9. Like you'll see in different replays too, like Enciso's higher up the field than João Pedro was. So they were essentially
Mhm.
playing Enciso as a center forward. And I just don't understand that. I'm I'm not I'm not Fabian out. I want to see what he does. But there's just been moments and obviously I'm not in that position for a reason. I'm not the manager of a Premier League club for a reason, but there's just certain things that have just been mind-boggling that he's done throughout this year that doesn't make sense. Gruda is another guy. Send Gruda out on loan. We have Diego Gomez coming in, who I
Mhm.
believe can slot right in and start. The man's been learning at the knee of Messi and Suarez for this entire last season, and he wasn't a bit part of that Miami team. Like he was involved in a lot of their build-up plays. You can watch him play. Messi and Suarez both trusted him. Like he got the ball from those guys. I would send Gruda on loan too. Another guy who is really, really high potential guy, but you see him play, and he got a lot of praise in the Brentford game. Flop Mob raved at him somewhat highly. I just
Mhm.
I haven't seen it. Maybe I went in with like an axe to grind or something against the guy because I didn't think he should be starting, but he hasn't impressed me either. I think both those guys could benefit by going on loan, and we can play other people in those roles.
For sure. I like. I guess it for me looking at Brighton, it's difficult. Like you're caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Because on one hand, you would say, you know, first year with another new coach, and you're integrating however many new players that were brought in during the offseason. Um, so that's why, like, well, we give them a little patience. But at the same time, for Brighton, you guys dropped close to 200 million pounds. Like
Mm.
you're expecting immediate results. So I guess my question is, and this would be more where I personally would be measuring like my club at this point, in your situation is, do are you seeing like at least like a defined style week in and week out that the team is growing into, or like basically, like, I know there's going to be times where you have injuries and stuff like that, and you got to rotate the squad. And in your guys' case, you have like Gruda is a right winger, but he's a much different right winger than Minte, right? Like, um, so I guess, are you starting to see? Do you think that Fabian's doing too much tactically to try to match up with whoever he's playing against, or are you starting to see like, hey, this is Fabian Hurstler's style? I'm starting to see his imprint on the club. Any of that yet?
No, I don't think so. Like now that I think about it, no. Like what what I first thought it was at the beginning of the season was like a 4-2-3-1 with Minte, Reuter, or no, I'm sorry, Minte, Pedro, Matoma, and then Welbeck up top, right?
Mhm.
So maybe it's just out of necessity. I mean, play Ferguson, in my opinion. Like I think you're harming Pedro's abilities by playing him as a center forward, or at least labeling him as a center forward. That he's not. He's a 10, despite the number that's on his back. He's a 10.
Mhm.
Um, Adingra, like what I saw at the beginning of the season that was fun is Adingra would come in at 60 minutes because Minte's been running his ass off, and then you have another super fast, super athletic winger to take that spot. And you stop seeing Adingra coming in those moments for whatever reason. Adingra, I think, had like a goal and 2 assists to open up the season as a sub. Like that was
Mhm.
huge. And then that, like, it seems like things start working and then something changes. And that could be
Mhm.
because of injury or whatever. But Welbeck's injury seemed to decimate like what this club was about. But
Mhm.
I don't understand why you're willing to give a guy like Enciso, who's constantly proving that he doesn't need to be on the field, but you have a guy that the entire world is telling you is a future superstar striker and he's not playing in Ferguson. It doesn't make sense. Some of the moves he makes, and maybe the Gruda thing, 2 games in a row as a starter, maybe that is just a German biasy, but I'm not seeing it from him either. Ayari, I think, is talented, but I think he's a backup. Baleba has been consistent through the year. I'm trying to think who. Baleba, Van Hecke, Veltman when he's healthy. And then
consistent guys, yeah.
Matoma on the left wing.
For sure, yeah. Matoma is a huge difference maker for that team. For all the talent you guys have, Matoma and Pedro, I guess, are the 2 guys I would be like, and those guys are like, anytime they touch the ball, something could happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then like there's been a lot made out of by the fan base, Matoma's scoring output not being that high, but there's something to be said that a lot of goals that we score, whether he's assisting on them or not, start on that left-hand side. You can send that ball to him anyway, on the ground, 2 feet off the ground, a lob. He's going to catch it. He's going to control it, and he's going to do something with it. Like, he is the most dependable offensive weapon that we have, and we're lucky to have a guy like that on the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it was a fun matchup. I think that we would both be lying if we said we're happy with where we ended the 2024 calendar year in the table. Yeah. That having been said, it's been a very, very competitive Premier League this year. Really, it's Liverpool and everybody else. Even Chelsea's showing some wobbles recently. So, yeah, I think that we both have good things to build on going into next year. I'm just kind of looking at January for Villa. Obviously tomorrow morning we play Leicester City. Anything less than a win, I'd be disappointed. We're at home. It's a West Midlands game. We should take care of business. And then we followed up with the following week. We are again at home for the first round of the FA Cup, first round for Villa, and we're hosting West Ham. When they seem to be going through just the dickens of it. I mean, from a fan perspective, I think I told you this. I have like a guilty pleasure. There's a YouTube channel. It's a West Ham fan channel,
yeah.
And I watched one the other day after the Liverpool game. They posted a video called "This Is the End," like that they've finally killed all of the real fans from West Ham. It is a lot of hate watching, but it's entertaining. But then we have couple games after that. Premier League, we have Everton, Arsenal, and then back to Champions League with Monaco. So some games coming up that are going to be big for us. Obviously we're still going to miss Duran tomorrow, as well as Rodgers for the yellow cards. Pau Torres picked up an injury; he probably won't play. He picked up the injury in the Brighton game, probably won't play. But we're getting back to close to full health, so I'm excited, looking forward here. How about you? What's the early January outlook for Brighton as far as games?
Wait, real quick. The Monaco and Celtic matches, those are still group stage?
Yeah, the group stage goes all the way to end of January now.
Holy shit, man. That's wild.
Yep. And they're honestly, both of them are still must wins for us if we want to finish in the top 8. I think what we're quickly approaching that we're going to make whatever version of the top 24 is. That having been said, there's such a huge benefit to getting the top 8, having essentially a bye. It's extra games that you're not playing. Yeah. I think it's a home and away for the other ones, and then you get to host I think that getting that top 8 would be huge for us as far as confidence and health and momentum. So those 2 games, I'm not taking Monaco or Celtic lightly. They can beat anybody on their day. I think both of them are ahead of Real Madrid and Man City in the table right now, if it tells you anything. So the new Champions League all the way to the end of January now. So
That's just crazy. So, Brighton this weekend is a big match for me just because El Paso has such a huge Arsenal fan base, including my good friend and brother-in-law, Michael Hernandez. Might try to figure out a way to watch the game with him, either at his house or my house. Um, both of his sons, my nephews, he's tricked them into being Arsenal fans, despite my best efforts of uh, sneaking in Brighton fandom to them.
For sure.
So yeah, that we got Arsenal. That's probably an L. It's at the Amex. Maybe we can trick them into another red card. Maybe we can trick Declan Rice again and maybe squeeze something out of that. We go into the FA Cup against Norwich at Norwich. Is Josh Sargent healthy?
I'm not sure, but
No.
hopefully I get to watch that and see my boy Lewis Dobbin play. Now he's on loan over in Norwich. Get some
Oh
game
yeah.
time.
Where is Norwich?
It's all the way in the very far eastern like peninsula. It sticks out in the southern part of England. It's way the fuck out there. That's why everyone talks about it being like a hell of a road trip because there's not a lot of other clubs out that direction. Ipswich is kind of halfway there, but like basically it's just like due east from London all the way out. So
Yeah. And then we get away at Ipswich, and then our whipping boys on January 19th, Manchester United.
mhm.
Um, so some competitive games. I would like to see at least, obviously, a win at Norwich, and then hopefully at least 6 points out of those three matches. I would be okay with. Seven would be even better if we could draw with Arsenal. Um,
Wait, hold on. I'm an old man and
uh,
I don't have Blue Sky. Like, do they have like hashtags or any of that sort of stuff on there that you do, or you can like
Yeah,
uh
they do have hashtags. I haven't seen too much of it run. Like literally, my experience on the app has been finding all the people that I used to follow, as well as new people. So at this point in time, I have 32 followers compared to I think I was up to 400 on Twitter at one point,
mhm.
and I'm following 56.
The reason I ask is because uh if I was still doing social media, my
Mhm.
hashtag every time United played would be hashtag send the devil back to hell, which is relegation. So if you want to make that one for me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that for their matchup. I don't think I'm buddies with any of my United fans. There was a not as big as Arsenal, but there is a contingent of United fans here.
Yeah, they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Sorry, I cut you off there. Any
oh,
last thoughts about your schedule, or you wanted to add to that?
that's pretty much it. I'm interested to see Diego Gomez get blooded into the squad. I don't know if it's going to be this weekend, but he is, since it is, the new year, it's the transfer window. He is eligible to play now. Videos have been coming out of him training. He looks sharp. And like I said, again, I mean, this is a guy who was learning from and trusted by two legends in the game. Or, they had what's his face there too, the fullback. Why is his name escaping me?
Oh, geez, I can't remember.
Um,
Holiday season got to my
yeah,
brain. Yeah,
drive me crazy. But I mean, you had like Barcelona legends, like some of the best players we've ever seen in our lifetime,
hmm
trusting him enough to add him to the mix. And
yeah,
I'm very very interested to see what he's going to do in the Premier League. I think we got a really really super talented kid for $8 million, which is huge.
that's what we signed Rogers for.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So we are at 40 minutes, and like I said, normally we would obviously do a little longer. But we're gonna try a new segment today. In the for all of our loyal listeners, you know that we like to finish with rants. So in lieu of rants today and a top five, we'll bring back top five next week. We're going to take Jake down. We're gonna lay him comfortably onto the couch, put a pillow under his head, and we're gonna do some soccer therapy. So Jake, present us with your your soccer issue.
Okay, so USL season is approaching quickly. I believe it kicks off in March.
I'm so
Um,
excited for that, man.
oh yeah,
I'm super stoked. Unfortunately for you, I'm a DCFC fan now because Grand Rapids shit the bed and went MLS next. But
oh that's gross.
yeah. Anyways,
Um, so the USL show that some of you might have heard of, very very good stuff. Guys like John Morrissey are part of that. Um, Very interesting group of guys. Someone that I really look up to as far as podcasting goes, or I guess he can't be that much older than me. He might even be younger than me. I'm not sure. His name's Phil Bakke. He does Seriously Loco here. He's appeared for them as well and done some work. They had their show last night, and one of the comments they made, I had kind of hoped that they had actually read my comment from Blue Sky. I didn't finish the episode, so they might have, but I heard them discuss Locomotive, and one of the main things they were talking about was, clubs just being honest and, apologizing and saying, hey, we screwed up these past few years, but we're going to try to make it better. And I sent a photo to the group chat. That was my comment on their live was essentially El Paso doesn't need to apologize to me because I know that they're not sorry. And there's been signings that have proved that. And the way they've gone about things has proved that. So to begin the year off, well, in the middle of last season, we fired our manager, Brian Clarehout, another guy who had tried to bring in European talent to a place that gets up to 110 degrees on match days sometimes.
what
Bring it
what
in.
was what was your comment to him? Remember you told me you shouted at him one time, like throwing your career away over whatever. I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah, it was something like that. It was like you're throwing your career away over Norwegians or something like it was something
So,
to that effect, like
right.
and
Yeah.
it was he was a very very stubborn manager in
Mm.
that he had certain players he liked. He had a certain style of play that he liked. I think we were playing like a 3-5-2 at one point or something like that. And but he had brought in guys from Ukraine, from Sweden. I think we had a guy from the Falkland Islands. And you're bringing these guys in to play summer football in El Paso. Like I said, 110-degree heat. It just doesn't work. So then they did, in a way, did something that I was hoping for, in that they brought in a CONCACAF style manager. Unfortunately, they brought in a man named Wilmer Cabrera. And if you watched, Colombian football in the 90s, you would know who Wilmer Cabrera is. He's an American DeCali guy. He was there for a really, 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 really long time. That's a fine. Really, really
$5.
long time. And he played for the Colombian national team as well. He's most known to USL fans as the manager of RGV Toros. They played down in Edinburgh. One of the worst places to play in USL, in my opinion.
Swamp.
Swamp. Just if you've ever been to South Padre Island, you understand what that humidity is. You feel like you are wet and being burnt with an iron at the same time. And their field was the size of fucking Camp Nou. It was the biggest field I have ever seen in second division US soccer. It was enormous, and you had to play on that field in that weather. Despite that, he was still not successful, in my opinion, at RGV. There was some years, I think he might have made the playoffs once, or he might have came close to it. But other than that, he was just it was a bad team. And that was, a lot of the times, was due to funding. So keep that in mind for later on in the story. He's been at places like MLS. He's done other spots throughout the time. So got to the button that time. We end up looking horrible. I made the decision with, I think, a few matches left that I wasn't going to renew my season tickets. He had brought his son in who was playing like 5th division German football. Just not a good player. Like, just a net negative. Like, he wouldn't do anything. It felt like he avoided the ball. He would make one good pass a game, and the fan base here would eat it up. Like, they were eating up these players. He brought in a lot of RGV guys that had played for him at that, at that stop in his career. Brought in a lot of those guys, and you'd always hear Wilmer Cabrera does the most with the least. And it's like, yeah, well, he's bringing the people that you referred to as the least. He's bringing them to El Paso now.
Mm-hmm.
He got
like up a division, like,
yeah. Well, I mean, like, the thing is for even with the lack of success that El Paso has had, they still have a lot more money than a lot of these clubs. Like, our ownership group has some cash.
Mm-hmm.
We've paid some players some really high wages. Like, I think we've had several $100,000 a year players for USL Championship. That's a big deal. But so he brings his doofus son in. The thing that made me mad about the team doing that the most was everywhere he has been, he's been known as Wilmer Cabrera Jr. And when they signed him as Andres Andy Cabrera, as to make it seem like, oh, maybe it's not his kid. And it's like, we know what his fucking last name is. And we watched him play against us when he was on RGV, because the only time he's ever gotten playing time is when he's played for his father. So they sign all these guys. He brings all his friends in. He gets everybody a job from RGV that, has ever played for him before. They bring this guy in. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I watched him play one game, I think, and that was like the last game of the year. He wore number 9, and he was a German dude with like a non-German last name. He had a ponytail. Fantastic player. And Wilmer wouldn't play him. Like, one of the most like fun attacking players I've seen in the past like 2 years. Wilmer wouldn't play him. He only wanted to play his RGV guys. He only wanted to play this. Like, I swear to you, one time I fell asleep watching a game this year when I was watching it at home, because it was just that boring. He brings boring football here with bad players that it seems like he's just trying to get them a job. So I listen to Seriously Loco. They talk about it, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to bring Wilmer back? That was a discussion. And all three of them said, screw it. Let's give him a year and see what happens. Because for the first time in our club's history, we're going to have a technical director that isn't the manager, and we'll find out what happens. And, I said, screw it. Let's see what happens. Maybe the club will learn from this. Maybe they won't. So an announcement comes up early in December. We have 3 big signings in 3 days, and it's going to be it's a big deal. You guys are really, really going to be excited about these signings.
Mm-hmm.
The very first signing, El Paso has decided to offer a pro contract to academy player, 15-year-old Kenneth Hoban. A 15-year-old fucking center back who's not even done growing yet. We don't even know if he's going to be a center back. He's not going to play more than maybe 20 minutes this season. That's your first big fucking announcement, is Kenneth Hoban. Congrats to you, kid. Like, hell yeah, that's good. It's good that we're using our academy. That's good. Mm-hmm. That's not a huge announcement.
Yeah, this is bringing somebody, like, that's not a signing. Like, it's not.
And they've tried to blow this PR up with they gave him a key to the city. Like, they made it Kenneth Hoban Day in El Paso. Nobody gave a shit other than like the guy's family. And again, El Paso Locomotive diehards, yay. All right. Hell yeah. We did this. And it's like, no, stop being excited about this. Like, stop being excited about that. You're just giving them what they want. They're going to keep doing bad shit. They're going to keep pissing on the carpet unless you slap them on the top of the head with a rolled up newspaper. So the second signing, day 2. All right, what's this one going to be? What's this one going to be? It should be a good thing, right? El Paso signs local product Omar Mara, who was once part of our academy and then went to some like lower level D1 university where he was like conference player of the year, and we brought him back. So kid's like 20, I think. Okay, I guess. Like, cool. Like, we're gonna fill out our backups. Like, cool. All right, we'll see what happens. Whatever. Day 3. This one, I got a little teary-eyed for because I never thought he should have left. I thought he should have been here forever because he proved he was a talented USL championship level starter. Locomotive brings back Memo Diaz, local El Paso guy, very, very talented, has the ability to play as a right back and as a central midfielder. I like the guy. I think he's a USL championship starter. I guarantee you he will not start over any of Wilmer's boys. The next signing, Locomotive adds experienced defender Alvaro Quezada. Talented guy, played for Memphis, I believe. Okay, cool. Shore up the back line. Yeah, nice. Whatever, cool. And
He's
then
an outside back, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Is he a fill for Stauffer since
Yeah.
Lexington signed him? Okay.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Stauffer, probably one of our most positive players that we've had. Wilmer didn't like him, which just blows my mind. And then
I thought he popped like the games that I watched, the El Paso games. Like I always noticed Stauffer. Like I think it was mostly because the hustle. Like, he was hustling everywhere. So
yeah, he's a great player. I wanted Stauffer to come back, and of course he doesn't come back. And then the coup de grace. The reason because I had second thoughts because it's like, fuck, man, I'm gonna miss having season tickets. I'm gonna miss having season tickets. Like I love this team, passionate about this team. It's my favorite soccer team in the whole wide world. And then I look down at my phone. Locomotive signs forward, and they called him Andy again. Andy fucking Cabrera to a new deal. The nepotism is fucking killing me, man. And then of course you see the El Paso Locomotive fans. Yeah, all right. He's going to kill it this year. We're really building the team. All right, squad's starting to squad. And it's just no. Like, not just no, fuck no. I don't understand how anybody looks at this and looked at the way he played last year and think this is a good idea.
His stats as they sell it in this press briefing is Cabrera returns to Locomotive after making 8 appearances and logging 524 minutes of action after signing as a late season addition. Cabrera recorded 9 shots and 10 chances created in his limited minutes. None of those are stats. None of those are fucking stats. Like you recorded 9 shots in almost just shy of 6 games. Bad math there, but like something like that. And then you didn't create a single assist or a single goal in your forward?
No. Okay. He did nothing. The plays that you would see, I remember one in particular was he was on the right wing and he played a really, really nice ball, lofted ball that someone latched onto and then it went nowhere. I watched him because I thought I was overreacting. I had one of the biggest arguments I've ever had with a Locomotive supporter where I was told to go root for New Mexico because I was way too negative this year. But I watched him to just try to prove a point, to see what he does. He does nothing. Absolutely nothing that he does. It feels like he avoids the ball, and it feels like he walks everywhere. Like, and then like I will forgive him for that. There's certain players that can get away with that as long as they push it into the position where they need to push it. He doesn't do that either. Avoids the ball. He's a net negative when he's on the field, and he started the majority of those games that he got those minutes. His dad would play him 90 minutes a game at certain points, and it was just, he fucking sucks, man. And I don't understand why Locomotive fans keep trying to be like, this is a good thing. Like, oh yeah, he did good against us at RGV. We played horrible against RGV because you have a high altitude, dry weather team in El Paso going to the hellhole that is Edinburgh, Texas to play. Of course, they're going to beat up on us in those situations.
Mhm.
But it
All
just,
right.
it blows my mind.
Not trying to derail your anger here because I feel you. But as you've come to the therapist today, what existential questions can I help talk you through?
I,
Are you you were excited about getting, or you're at least open to getting season tickets again, and then you see the Andy Cabrera. So are you going to be in or out on season tickets?
oh, I'm out, like all the way out. I can't. If things improve, I will think about it. And people can call me a fair weather fan as much as they want because I have been called that by certain members of like locomotive fandom. But I'm voicing my frustration, I think, in the best possible way I can, because USL Championship at that level, they make their money off game day sales, whether that's tickets, merch, food. I am not going to participate in it. I'm not going to buy a jersey this year. I've bought a jersey every year that they've been in existence because I love the club. I want to give the club money. They've And I'm not the only one that feels this way. Like, I think a lot of the seriously local guys have said it without saying it. The past 3 years, last year especially, like they took my joy away. Like I didn't want to go to the games. I just didn't. They took something I loved away from me, and it hurt in that way.
I'm drawing. I mentioned earlier. I like to hate watch the West Ham fan account, and this is the end was the last video I watched. I know that you're done this season as far as season tickets goes. I'll believe it when I see it when you tell me that you're not going to turn it on when the games start like on TV, or that you won't buy like a game ticket. But from your perspective, this is me opening the floor to you and your pulpit, if you will, back to El Paso leadership, what have you. I'm the season ticket sales guy. How do I get you to buy season tickets again in the future? What's it going to take? And if they're successful this season and Andy Cabrera is leading the
Yeah,
USL Championship in goals, like
that's
what does
that's
that
a
mean for you?
that's another thing. The if they prove me wrong, the apology will be as loud, if not louder, than the complaints ever were. I will fully go. I am wrong. Wilmer Cabrera, you have proved me wrong. You were right. Andy Cabrera, you buggy-eyed fucking dork. You proved me wrong. And I'm sorry. If they prove me wrong, I will buy season tickets next year. If they prove me right and
And
they
you'll buy an Andy Cabrera jersey.
if Andy Cabrera, if they have a winning record, if they make the playoffs
Okay.
and Andy Cabrera has 10 goal involvements this season.
I'll say he has to lead the team in goals for
Oh
you
no,
to force you.
this is how confident I am of how worthless of a player he is. If they make the playoffs and he has 10 goal involvements,
Mhm.
so 5 goals, 5 assists,
Yep.
whatever, I will buy an Andy Cabrera jersey.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know you're hurting. I know like to I know like I like to needle you with the El Paso stuff. Especially since I'm more new to USL Championship than you are. Um, but I mean, like you're right. Like I feel like I guess the USL Championship to me feels authentic. So I see like your passion and I understand why you'd be frustrated. And you're right. The only voice you do have is your wallet, but like also that's your wallet and you worked hard to like make that money. So where you choose to spend it is on you.
Yeah.
I would say that as my therapy will outside of accepting a path back at some point is, if nothing else, if you don't go to the games, if you just watch on TV, I want you to take away from each game one moment of joy. And this is how I tried to explain to my wife, like when she was first understanding soccer, she's like, "This is boring. They scored like the game was 1-0, and that was it." I'm like, "Yeah, but there's going to be within that game a moment of just brilliance, like whether it's passing or shooting or a goal or maybe not, like or a dribble, like and that little nugget of joy is what makes soccer amazing to me. So as your therapist in this occasion, I say I understand don't buy a season ticket and we'll see how the season plays out. But when you watch on TV or if you had a really beautiful spring or fall day in El Paso and you're feeling froggy and want to go to a game, just try to find those one moments, even if El Paso hasn't won a game all season, try to find those one little moments and hopefully that gives you some sort of joy. And I hope that they are successful so you do are able to come back. I'm super jealous that you have that in your backyard. The closest thing I have is Detroit, and that's still 2.5 hours one way for me. So um, I hope they can bring you back, but I understand your position.
Oh, I'm going to the season opener. I'm gonna do that because I haven't missed a season opener since they came to El Paso. So I'll keep that tradition alive. But like I said, I'm not gonna buy merch, and that's what I told the season ticket guy. And I tried to be nice to them too because, um,
He's just working his job. He
yeah,
didn't make those decisions, or she didn't make those
yeah.
decisions. Yeah.
And it's not even that. Like the main guy, like he was my original season ticket concierge, and then he took over the entire program. His name's Michael. Super, super nice guy. He actually texted me. He's like, "Hey, I saw what you posted about your grandma on Twitter. I just wanted to let you know from me and the people in the season ticket department. We just wanted to say that we're very sorry, and if you need anything, let us know." And like, there's super, super people that work for that organization, and I hope it survives. And I think, like, obviously, like me by myself, I'm not going to make enough damage to kill the team because that's the last thing I want. I just want them to think about it because you at that level of soccer, you're literally on the edge of a blade,
Hmm.
and you're just going and trying to stay as steady as possible to survive. And you need a fan base. And this isn't a knock on El Paso, or maybe it is, but there's a lot of fair weather fans here because of just the geographical position of everything. You see Laker fans, you see Dodger fans, you see San Antonio fans, you see Kansas City
Yeah.
Chief fans. It's just we're so far away from a lot of things that it's evolved into like you're going to root for a winner or you're going to be a miserable Dallas Cowboys fan kind of thing. So El Paso's real quick to bail on shit. UTEP football doesn't get a lot of fans. UTEP basketball will only get fans when they have a decent team. You have to win here to survive. And what I'm scared of is they're gonna make a product that's so boring. Number one, so boring, and number two, a loser that we lose this team forever. And then I got a dead team tattooed on my body. So,
There's lots of TV shows that I'll sign you up for where they cover up tattoos, and that'd be
yeah.
fun to see. Uh, all right, buddy. Well, hey, always good talking soccer with you. Until
Absolutely.
next time.
Later, man.
See you, bud.